Ebony scrambled over the wet stones leading up to the waterfall. Water sprayed her, soaking her to the bone. She was grateful that Boris had taken those items from her, freeing her hands up to keep her steady on the rock. She watched in amazement as Boris disappeared behind the water falling overhead. She slipped in behind him. Behind the waterfall, there was a cave that had been washed out from centuries of falling water. It was damp and cold. She couldn't see in the darkness. She followed the sound of Boris's footsteps. She heard him drop some of his gear on the stone floor of the cave, but she could not see him at all. She stopped walking for a moment, trying to listen to hear where he was at in the cave. Next thing she knew, Boris was standing beside her. "Give me your hand," he instructed. "Let me take you back further in the cave." They stumbled around together in the darkness until finally they were at the back of the cave. It was a little bit drier than at the front, but not much. The dampness created by water spraying from the waterfall was thick on the walls and ceiling. Droplets fell on her head. Ebony felt Nova recede back into the recesses deep inside her mind. "Is your dragon hiding himself?" she asked Boris. "Yes," he whispered loudly. "But he told me you're not going to have to lay on top of me." This time he chuckled. "That's a relief," snorted Ebony. She wanted to call out to Nova and get confirmation that what he had said was the truth, but she couldn't really sense her. She was there, but she was hidden, not from Ebony, but from any other dragons in the area. "Let's sit here in the back of the cave," Boris said. "It's too cold to lay down on this stone. I will sit here and you sit in front of me. We will try to stay warm together while we wait for the dragons to pass." Time seemed to stand still in the black darkness of the cave. Ebony appreciated the warmth that Boris gave to her back as she leaned into him. But the front side of her was not warming up. They huddled together, shivering. "How long do you think we're going to have to stay hiding like this?" asked Ebony. "I guess your dragon will tell us when it is safe to come out," replied Boris. "I really have no idea. Tell me, why are they looking for you so diligently?" Ebony sighed. She really wasn't ready to tell him her story, but there was nothing better to do in the darkness of the cave. She wasn't sure where to start. There was a lot to tell. "What do you want to know?" "What do I want to know?" Boris paused thoughtfully. "When I was in Halua, the men in the pub were saying that the king had thrown a big ball to celebrate your 18th birthday. He had gathered all the eligible princes from the neighboring countries so that he could marry you off. I am curious to know why he would try to marry you off to just anyone. Most kings try to marry their daughter off to another prince to create an alliance with a certain country. So let's start from there. Why was he in such a hurry to get rid of you?" "There was plenty of time to find someone. You are only 18. "It's nice to know that I was the talk of the town," snarked Ebony. She sighed dramatically. "I guess I can just start at the beginning because that is when his animosity started. When I was born, there was a seer who came and spoke a prophecy over me." "Spoke a prophecy over you? A woman?" interrupted Boris, amazed. "I have never heard of such a thing before." "I guess I am the first," she replied sarcastically. "Anyhow, I guess that scared my father, because she, the seer, said that I was going to be a powerful and wise queen." Boris didn't have anything to comment on that. He could hear the pain in her voice, even though she was trying to hide it with sarcasm. He waited patiently for Ebony to continue. "So, on my 18th birthday, my father threw a large ball to marry me off to one of the princes in the area. He sent invitations to every country that had a hint of a prince who might be eligible to marry me. There was even one old widowed king there," she shuddered. "But I refused them all. I have no need for a mate. I have a strong dragon. I will prove my father wrong. I will come back one day, and I will sit on the throne of Alarion." "Men don't rule in Alarion," commented Boris. "How do you think you are going to manage that?" "I am going to wait until my father dies, and then I am going to overthrow my weak, pathetic brother, and then take the throne." Ebony spoke confidently. Speaking the plans out loud that she had long held in her heart made them seem to come alive again. Boris laughed. "I guess if I was a king, I'd want to get rid of you too. It seems like you are more trouble than I imagined." "You? A queen? Then you don't have much of an imagination," snorted Ebony. "Women can rule. My dragon has told me about the ancient dragon queens, and about other human women that ruled mighty nations. It could happen. I am not going to argue with you, little princess. I am sure there were ancient queens that did a magnificent job of leading armies and ruling nations. But you have a lot to learn about ruling a nation. It appears to me you can't rule yourself. Tell me, how is it that you ended up with me? It seems to me you could have done better if you would have picked a prince. I don't need a prince to make me a queen, Ebony said haughtily. When I turned down all the princes, I was tried for treason and banished from my country. My punishment was that I would be married to the first single man that walked up to the castle. I guess you were the lucky winner. Yeah, lucky me, Boris said unenthusiastically. Now I am stuck with you. You can get rid of me just as soon as you get me out of here. If you feel this way, why haven't you given me up already? First off, said Boris, I don't think that if I was to let them capture us right now, that I would be allowed to live to tell the story of how I was married to the Princess of Valerian. If I watched you being taken and killed, do you think they would let me live? If they get their hands on you, I am as good as dead too. Ebony could understand his reasoning. She heard the truth he spoke. They might let you live if you never return to Alarian. But then again, probably not. Rumors have a way of growing larger than life, so for the moment you are stuck with me. I guess once we get out of Alarian, you can just get rid of me then. Boris growled. As much as I enjoyed my single life, you are my mate now. I see no reason to get rid of you. I will just have to find some way to work this out to my advantage. You are mine. You and your crazy dreams. Ebony scoffed. We will see. You think you are going to be my king? You must be crazy. How do you not know that I might not kill you while you're sleeping? I have almost killed a man before. Boris laughed out loud. You can try, little princess, but that won't ever happen. I sleep too lightly. Why don't we just call a truce and find a way to cohabitate peacefully? Yeah, like that is going to happen, thought Ebony. Tell me a little about yourself, she said. You seem to know a lot for just being a vagabond. Boris grunted. Every man has to serve in the army. I decided to learn as much as I possibly could while being conscripted. It helps one to survive learning as much as one can. How long have you been out of the army? Ebony asked curiously. Not long enough, replied Boris. Why aren't you still in the army? At least you wouldn't be begging in the streets. Ebony could not comprehend living so roughly. Boris laughed slightly. I said I tried to learn as much as I possibly could in the army. I just didn't tell you that sometimes knowing too much is dangerous. I had to leave before I got into trouble. You are a deserter, exclaimed Ebony. What did you do? Did you try to blackmail someone with information you shouldn't have known? You could say that? He chuckled. What good is juicy information if it doesn't make you money? But it backfired on me, so I had to run. I told you I am a survivor. What country are they looking for you in? You obviously aren't from Alarian, Ebony stated the obvious. Speaking of which, how do you know the countryside so well? Being on the run has its advantages. I have traveled many places to hide from being found. Boris avoided telling her where he was from. The dragons have passed, Nova told Ebony. You can let him know now. Nova just told me that the dragons have passed. What do you think we should do now? Unfortunately, we are probably stuck in this cave for the rest of the night. I wish we knew if the dragons were just a routine patrol, or if they were scouts looking for us. That would make all the difference in the world, as to whether or not we could have a fire and warm up. I think we're going to just have to make the best of it here. Ebony was not happy with that news at all. She was still slightly shivering, despite the warmth that Boris was providing her. Their blankets had gotten wet entering the cave behind the waterfall. I am so cold and hungry, she complained. Boris grunted. I understand. I am too. I am glad we took that little break on top of the ridge, but that is just the way it is when you are running. I was hoping to catch some fish tonight and have some hot food, but that's not looking too good either. I was too, said Ebony. I want to know why you have so much more in your knapsack than I do. Did you ask your captain for an army supply knapsack? Boris asked. How was I to know how to do that? Exactly, said Boris. You know very little about anything. I don't know how you survived this long. Oh, that's right, you were raised in the lap of luxury. Everything was given to you by servants who waited on you. I bet you were a pampered, spoiled little brat. Whatever, said Ebony sarcastically. She was done with this conversation. She started to lean forward away from him. Boris wrapped his arms around her and pulled her back into his body. You are not going anywhere, he said. If we are going to survive this night, we are going to have to sit here until we can leave this cave. It's too cold to get too far away from each other. Ebony sighed and closed her eyes. There was no reason to keep them open without the help of Nova to see through the darkness of the cave. Nova, do you think you can help a little bit? Some sight or some warmth? Since we don't know whether or not it was a regular patrol or scouts looking for us, I have to agree with Boris. It's better if we make it through the night the best you can. We can assess our situation in the daylight tomorrow. Sit tight. I will warm you up. You keep Boris warm. Ebony groaned. Okay, Nova, if you say so. She was too tired and cold to fight her dragon protecting the deserter she wanted to desert.